So I know this isn't the most popular opinion, and I don't pass judgment on anyone who feels differently. Feel free to disagree with me. But I've always been a proponent of the concept of separating art from the artist. To me, art should live in a vacuum apart from its creative origins for the most part. And if we required artists throughout time to be good people in order to value and appreciate their art, we'd probably lose like 45% of all art ever from all cultures throughout time. It's just the reality of how this shit works. But then I tried to listen to the new Kanye album this week, and it lets us know the real limitations of that philosophy. I want to first point out that I'm going to be really critical of Kanye, and I want to make it clear that this isn't me dismissing his challenge with mental illness outright, though I do think there's a lot about modern Kanye that can be attributed to his mental health. Understand, that's an explanation, not an excuse. The vast majority of people with bipolar disorder or other similar mental health issues do not go on white supremacist speaking tours. They just don't. That is unique to Kanye West.
I see good things about Hitler also.
Kanye's behavior is maybe tied to his illness, but it's not a result of it. And we need to stop trying to use that as an excuse. But let's switch things to another fallen Chicago legend to really get into it here. I'm from Chicago, and I grew up during R. Kelly's prime era, where he had a million hits on the radio and was writing and producing for everyone and every prom, homecoming, cookout, block party, whatever you were doing in Chicago. If you were there between like 93 to 2005, you were hearing R. Kelly. And then you started hearing about a tape. And then you had to remember that whole marrying Aaliyah thing back in like 96, 97. And this is all well before Surviving R. Kelly happened. But a lot of us kind of knew and started being like, we're gonna leave R. Kelly out the game. And I wasn't explicitly on board with boycotting his music off GP. Again, separate art from the artist, right? And I tried to argue this with many people in a prior life. But eventually I had to kind of sit and actually listen to R. Kelly, and what you realize is that the crimes and the harm of R. Kelly is intrinsically tied to his art. It wasn't that, just my cat was agreeing with me, I guess, I don't know. It wasn't that I couldn't separate the art from the artist, it's that the art from the artist was linked to the problems we had with the artist. If you go and you listen to a lot of R. Kelly's old stuff, some of it is so incredibly blatant, it's hard to imagine. There's a lot of people that don't want to talk about their R. Kelly history and experience, and I understand why. And I've hit that point with Kanye West. So many of you already know, but I'm a long-standing hardcore Kanye fan, mostly old Kanye, but later in life, I even began to appreciate new Kanye. Everything from 808s and Heartbreak up into The Life of Pablo, new Kanye I do rock with, although The Life of Pablo, I Will Down the Hill is incredibly overrated by you 26-year-old nerds who weren't there for a late registration, but I'm not gonna argue with y'all today. Further, I think like many other black men my age and of my disposition, we have a complex relationship with Kanye because Kanye kind of saw us through a specific transition in life. And my first video goes through this. It looks at Kanye's rise and how he built up such a strong following with an entire generation of music lovers. And the second video is about how all of that faded away in the intervening years. That second video, however, was in 2021 when Kanye was just finishing Donda, and many of his transgressions at the time were mostly around his personal relationships and his relationship with the black community and his public persona. He was running around with Trump hats saying slavery was a choice, saying that Harriet Tubman was a loser or something. Don't get me wrong, it was all still very, very bad, but because it felt like an in-house conversation and it felt like Kanye was still trying to get right, he would still come into black spaces and he was popping up in black churches and black radio, trying to engage with that criticism that we had of him and often apologizing. He would always eventually go right back on his word after apologizing, but I still had hope and a desire for things to somehow get better. And I'm sure you know things did not get better.
I see good things about Hitler also.
I don't want to rehash everything since Donda. I've got a few videos that talk about it on the B-sides, but suffice to say, it's been bad. It's been really, really bad to the point where I'm starting to really reconsider whether or not I do need to make a part 3 to that video, because it's kind of recontextualizing all the things we knew or think we knew about Kanye. But we're not there yet. I got to give him more time because anything I say to criticize Kanye right now will not be relevant a couple of months from now. So we'll see. All that said, at no time had I stopped listening to Kanye's music, especially his old music. No, I don't think he's had a genuinely good album since The Life of Pablo, which is, again, overrated. But everything before that is top tier in my book and the soundtrack to so much of my life. His new music, however, so, Donda 1, not good. It was bloated, unfocused, uninteresting. Kanye continues to have awful bars. I will never forgive him for that Hertz rental car line or the many weird lyrics about Pete Davidson. But the thing I realize now is that this is who Kanye is and will be going forward, and it led to that same revelation I had with R. Kelly. All of Kanye's awfulness notwithstanding, the flip side to this is that not only has the music been less good, less polished, less inspired, it's also been really dumb and gross. For a long time now, really going back to Dark Fantasy, Kanye hasn't just been your usual kind of misogynistic mainstream rapper. He's been sounding like someone fed Pornhub titles into ChatGPT. There's the bar about bleached assholes in T-Lop. There's the whole chorus in that weird song he did with Lil Pump. There's so many lines in Donda. Now he's got this new line and everybody talking about one in the pink, one in the stink. And these are lines that at least actually make sense because there's plenty that don't. And who can forget Poopity Scoop? And he has a line where it's like, she riding dick like a carnival. That is so bad. And what hit me is that Kanye has always said wild and ridiculous things in his lyrics, but early in his career when he acted like he had sense, you just said, Kanye wild for saying that. That was a dope line, but we have to start consider whether or not Kanye was ever joking when he said those things. Going back to that bleached asshole line, Rhymefest, Kanye's former writing partner, talks about how this line was argued over and resulted in him leaving their partnership seemingly for good.
If I this model and she just bleached her, I don't even gotta read this. I said, this is not who you are. Who you are is your humanity and vanity have to fight each other. If it's all vanity or all humanity, it don't work. On my t-shirt and I'm gonna feel like an ass. That's all vanity. That's no humanity. This right here, this was the beginning.
And Rhymefest's story here seems to be repeated over the last few years from a lot of people. All those people that were there with Kanye in the beginning are gone. And Lord only know who's left, but they're clearly not people capable of telling Kanye no or telling him what does and does not work. Getting back to the point, in my main channel videos, I talk about Kanye breaking kayfabe. And what that basically means is that Kanye changed what it meant and looked like to be a mainstream rap star. For nearly 20 years, mainstream rap was dominated by this gangster rap, hardcore street image that was mostly fake, AKA kayfabe. And Kanye somehow managed to break that and was running around with teddy bears on his clothes and then eventually high fashion. And that seemed revolutionary at the time, and it was, but now I realize Kanye didn't actually break kayfabe. He just introduced a new one, his own personal version of a false reality where we're all supposed to believe that he's a genius and that everything he does, even the stuff that doesn't work, that doesn't make sense and isn't very appealing, is just part of this bigger vision of a more significant message that folks don't realize. For example, I'll never forget the video for Bound 2 from Yeezus. It was like this first or second video that came out for the album, and it was the first time we saw him with Kim Kardashian, which meant it was kind of a big deal at the time because a lot of people still didn't believe that they were together, but again, watch the old video. And this video looked like something from Tim and Eric's Awesome Show, just this absurd, ugly thing that he made and put out there to the masses. Like, goddamn. Like, those like moving AI images? It wasn't far from that, and everyone hated it, especially since it was the video for the only song on that album that sounded like old Kanye. When pressed on why the video looked like that way back in 2013, so over a decade ago now, before the whole world was irony poisoned, Kanye had this to say.
Talk about Bound 2 video before we discuss it. What was your mind frame of Bound 2 and what did you want the people to get out of it?
What was the treatment for that video?
Oh, I wanted to take white trash t-shirts and make it into a video.
So you wanted it to look bad?
Yes. I wanted it to look
Okay.
as phony as possible. I wanted the clouds to go one direction, the mountains to go in the direction, to want the horses to go over, because I want to show you that this is the Hunger Games.
So the thing I don't think Kanye understands is that making something bad and unappealing on purpose still means that whatever you made is bad and unappealing. And once you've done that trick multiple times over a few years, which Kanye very much has, and you've yet to show the opposite end in that time period, how else are we supposed to see what you're doing except for thinking it's bad and unappealing? What I didn't know then, but I understand now about Kanye is that while immensely talented and still amazing in terms of production and crafting melodies and sounds, Kanye is a dickhead. Kanye has admitted to not reading, but he thinks he's the smartest man in the world. He clearly can't deal with people to tell him no, but he swears he's a free thinker. And as he said in this interview,
It's like performance art. The thing is, I ain't got a problem with looking stupid.
and after hearing some of the lyrics on this album, some of the choices on it, after hearing the verse Kanye spit on the original Life of the Party with Andre 3000, the second time he's wasted an Andre 3000 verse, I feel like Kanye should have gotten to the point where maybe he should stop trying to look stupid. Before, when I was so enamored with Kanye the artist, I would give him grace for all the dumb things he did. I believe the kayfabe of Kanye as the genius. But now, after years of clearly not being a genius, I just think most of what Kanye does is dumb. I'm no longer giving him the benefit of the doubt to reinterpret mid or bad music as being good based on some twisted cope logic I made up in my head to defend my parasocial fave. This album has some moments in it and a few cool melodies, but most of it sounds samey. It's almost like one long ass song. There's a ton of ridiculous cringe bars, and it's not overly memorable. I literally cannot remember it after trying to listen to it twice in the past week. And as far as I can tell, this was Kanye really trying, and he failed. And that's the most basic and easy to digest reason to not listen to Kanye now. All his bullshit aside, which is legit shit to be mad at and boycott Kanye for. Or if you're not want to get in, goddamn. Or if you want to keep it simple and you don't want to deal with all the complex political stuff, just recognize the music isn't that good, and it hasn't been for a while. Even if I wanted to separate the art from the artist, you can't help but notice that the art sounds just as dumb as the artist sounds outside of the music. So at that point, what am I listening to it for? For some nostalgic connection to the old Kanye? If that's the feeling, not just listen to the old Kanye. You can let the new Kanye go, or you can let the old Kanye go if you need. Whatever you need to do to get by, I'm just saying. The shit we have right now is not worth your time and energy. That's all I got to say, y'all. I'm FD Signifier, and this has been Light Work.